and countless demons surged in. Human professionals stood ready with their weapon drawn. However, suddenly, a burst of radiant holy light swept through the battlefield. Turned out, this light was Su Sheng's skill, which annihilated the abyssal creatures and lower-level demons, covering almost the entire battlefield. Feeling better than ever, Su Sheng regained his confidence. After a day of reflection following his defeat to Lin, he realized losing the match wasn't his fault. Rather, Lin was just monstrously strong, not because he was weak. Although not as powerful as Lin, he's no one to be looked down upon. The surrounding human professionals cheered, however. This scene caught the attention of two masked members of the demon worshippers, and in the next moment, they charged towards him. Overseeing the entire city, Succubus laughed, amused by the resistance. However, she found the desperate struggles of humans thrilling. While drawing a heart shape in the air, she became gradually excited, so much so that she extended her tongue and began licking her lips. She then expressed how she wanted to capture these human prodigies and devour them one by one. White, divine, cold gaze lingered on her, assuring her that her plans would not succeed. Suddenly, the entire city began to shake, and the thunder struck down from the sky as a massive majestic tower appeared just above the barrier set up by the demon worshippers. With a loud stud, the protected barrier shattered like glass upon impact. The moment Succubus saw the true form of the divine tower, panic set in. Realizing Manhwa was also here, she watched in despair as the tower instantly crushed the barrier and grew to an immense size. She soon realized that she was caught in their trap. However, it was too late. The tower then emitted a radiant burst of light, and in the next moment, all of the abyssal creatures and demons were obliterated, vanishing from sight. Lin looked up and knew it was Manhwa harnessing the might of the divine tower. Within seconds, no abyssal demons can be seen across the entire city. Looking furious, Succubus glared at White Divine and finally realized that they had been prepared all along. White Divine and Old Ning exchanged a glance and nodded to each other. The next moment, White Divine's hands then glowed with a brilliant white light, revealing his profession for the first time, the Heavenly Fist Overlord. With a fierce punch, as if space itself vibrated, rippling outwards, he unleashed his skill, Heaven-shaking punch, sending a colossal spectral fist hurtling towards Succubus. Simultaneously, Old Ning launched his attack, using the skill, Fire Dragon. Flames surged forward, morphing into a giant dragon that dove toward the Inferno Demon Lord. At the same time, numerous figures appeared on the teleportation platform just below them. Numbering in several dozens on closer look, it was clear that all of them were top-level professionals ranging from level 70 to 80. One can tell just by looking at their overwhelming presence. As soon they appeared, they roared, "Those who invade our empire shall be shown no mercy." Weapons drawn, they charged at the demon worshipper members. Succubus, drenched in cold sweat, realized she messed up big time. She thought she had set up a perfect ambush, yet it was the other way around. The ambush had been perfectly set by humans. From the appearance of 3 divine-level professionals, and the divine tower, and later these top-tier professionals, she knew they were doomed, perhaps even destined to die here. In desperation, she rushed towards the Inferno Demon Lord and yelled, "Run!" But just as she spoke, a voice filled the air declaring,
"None of you will be leaving here alive."
Hearing the voice, Succubus's face contorted in fear. The next moment, a figure appeared in the sky, followed by a massive hand descending upon them. In a panic, Succubus bit her own arm fiercely, drawing blood as she chanted what seemed to be a spell to open a gate to the abyss. She had never expected to see what she referred to as an old bastard join the fray. There's no way she could escape now, and she knew she had to do something or face certain death. This leaves her no choice but to summon the gate to the abyss. Just as the massive hand was about to strike them, a surge of black energy appeared beside them, forming a spinning vortex. From within, a giant spectral fist emerged, slamming towards the golden hand. A voice emanated from the vortex, laughing while saying that they were in a human city, and that fighting there could lead to countless human casualties. Upon hearing this voice, White Divine and Old Ning's expressions shifted, becoming more serious. As the scene shifted to the mysterious man who we know nothing about, finally spoke after a moment of silence. He decided to let them go, however. He coldly addressed the vortex, telling them that next time they will surely die, including the figure behind the vortex, which he referred as Blackfire. Without missing a beat, another gigantic hand then emerged from the vortex, reaching for Succubus and the Inferno Demon Lord, dragging them back into the gate. The vortex slowly faded away, as the gateway to the abyss disappeared shortly after. Lin and the others were unaware of what happened outside because right after the Divine Tower obliterated every demon outside, they were immediately summoned into the Divine Tower, entering an open field. They all turned out to be participants from the professional competition, and they were sorted into different areas based on their level bracket. Manhwa appeared in the sky, his voice echoing throughout the Divine Tower. He first announced the beginning of the solo competition. Lin, among the crowd, was slightly taken aback by Manhwa's decision to start the solo competition during the Abyss raid. Manhwa then announced that the professionals between levels 20, 29 would face abyssal creatures and abyssal demons ranging from levels 32, 35, totaling about 7,500 of them. Killing an abyssal creature would score 1 point, while an abyssal demon would yield 100 points. The rules were simple: survive until the end, and the highest scorer would be the winner. Suddenly, several thousands of demons and creatures appeared before them. Su Sheng glanced at Lin, wanting to challenge him again. Although he had lost their one-on-one duel, he didn't believe he'd be outmatched in fighting abyssal demons, especially as a holy mage, a natural nemesis of the abyss. Lin just smiled and rubbed his neck, humorously remarking, "Then I hope you manage to snag quite a few before I kill everything." As Manhwa's voice rang out once again to signal the start of the solo competition, the invisible wall between them and the abyssal creatures suddenly vanished, unleashing a horde of abyssal creatures and demons charged furiously towards them. Without missing a beat, Su Sheng activated his skill, Holy Light, sending out a bright curtain of light that quickly expanded. The weaker creatures touched by the holy light evaporated instantly, while others were scorched. Panting heavily, it was clear the skill had drained much of his stamina, but at the same time, he estimated that from that one skill, he had wiped out hundreds of abyssal creatures. If he could use the skill a few more times, he was confident the first place would be his. Glancing at Lin, Su Sheng noticed something odd. Lin hadn't summoned any of his skeletons. Instead, Lin raised one of his hands as if waiting for something. Su Sheng was confused, wondering if Lin had seen his holy light, and decided to give up. But the next moment, a flash of red light emanated in Lin's hand, and Su Sheng heard him say something along the line of, "Thanks for the corpses," before he had the chance to ask Lin what he said. Suddenly, a massive explosion erupted, causing the ground to shake violently. Su Sheng turned quickly towards the sound, and was stunned by what he saw next. Whether that's abyssal creatures or demons, everything fell in the wake of the explosion, drenched in cold sweat, as he quickly realized just how powerful this skill was, much stronger than his holy light. But who could have orchestrated such an attack? Then it dawned on him. He turned around and thought, could it be? Lin maintained his pose, his hand continuously emitting red light. Su Sheng was right. It was indeed Lin. In an instant, all the human professionals stopped what they were doing and turned their attention toward him. Incredulously, they soon realized that Lin was not just a summoner, but perhaps a mage with powerful AoE skills as well. They start to wonder, why had Lin never used such a powerful skill before? As each deafening explosion erupted, every explosion obliterated hundreds of abyssal creatures. In mere moments, the entire battlefield was cleared of any living abyssal creatures, leaving only charred corpses scattered across the terrain. However, some demons, quicker and luckier, had managed to evade the blast by flying as high as they could. Lin surveyed the field, contemplating that most of the abyssal creatures had been dealt with, and what remained were the lower-level demons. Other human professionals also recognized this shift. Though the abyssal creatures were gone, killing demons scored 100 points compared to just 1 point for the abyssal creature. At the thought of this, perhaps they still had the chance to win. Driven by this realization, everyone surged forward chasing after the demons. Su Sheng, shaken briefly by Lin's prowess, also realized that he needed to grab onto the opportunity to potentially surpass Lin if he also focused on going after the demons. Once again, regaining his confidence, he once again activated his armor of holy light and clutched his golden staff. However, just as he was about to take a step forward, a chill ran down his spine, as if something extremely powerful had materialized behind behind him, hair standing on end. He slowly turned to look back. The first thing he saw was a pair of wings, spanning several meters. Then, the full visage of a monstrous creature came into view, none other than a Hell Outpost guardian who wielded a massive cleaver. When he turned back towards Lin, he noticed that Lin was now clutching onto a black scythe. Before he could react, the guardian charged forward. At the same time, countless shackles flew towards the fleeing lower-level demons. In an instant, the demons' movement slowed to a crawl, almost as if frozen in place, and the next moment, the guardian materialized in front of them. With its massive cleaver raised, it mercilessly slashed through the demons, felling them like weed. The other professionals momentarily halted, stunned by the sudden appearance of the guardian. The moment they saw him slaughtering the demons, they couldn't help but suspect this was another of Lin's skills. Everyone gazed at Lin, baffled. Whether it was the earlier explosions or this guardian, they had one question on their mind, which was just how many more tricks did Lin have up his sleeve? Was this really just a solo competition, or was it a one-man show starring Lin? This thought was exactly what was going through Su Sheng's mind as he stared at Lin, pondering the hell is going on with this necromancer profession. Meanwhile, Tang, who had earlier conceded to Lin knowing he couldn't match up, had become a fanboy of Lin after witnessing just how powerful he was. He laughed heartily, teasing Su Sheng, only now realizing Lin is the real boss, huh? The guardian relentlessly reaped the lives of each demon, and streams of golden light flew toward Lin. Not long after, a new star appeared on his military badge, marking his promotion to a 3-star lieutenant. As the dust settled and the battlefield grew quiet, the surrounding professionals still hadn't gotten out of their daze, and everyone's eyes were glued to Lin. Not only was he immensely powerful, but he also held the rank of a 3-star lieutenant. Given his young age and the same level as most of them, it was hard to imagine just how many demons Lin had defeated to earn such a high military rank. Su Sheng glanced between Lin and his own badge, feeling embarrassed and shattered the confidence he had painstakingly built up after his previous defeat. Tang, cheekily looking at Su Sheng's badge, noticed that Su Sheng was merely a 1-star private. He couldn't resist teasing while saying he had thought Su Sheng was a big deal, but it turns out he's just a 1-star private. Embarrassed and then angered by Tang's comments, Su Sheng retorted that he had been focusing on his training and hadn't yet really entered the Yuan battlefield, asserting that once he did, he would surpass Tang within mere days. Tang, not bothered by the comeback, simply pointed at Lin and quipped that catching up to Lin was the real achievement. He then shrugged and sighed, laughing as he added, Su Sheng could only dream of catching up to Lin in this lifetime. Tang continued to use Lin as a benchmark to taunt Su Sheng, and there was nothing Su Sheng could do. We switched back to the scene of the battlefield, where the corpses of the demons had piled up on a small mountain, nearly all of them slain by Lin alone. The professional standing beside him didn't really know what to say, perhaps that this solo competition had truly been a solo show by Lin. With a calm gesture, Lin then raised his scythe and summoned the guardian back into his scythe. Shortly after their harrowing ordeal, everyone was teleported out by the divine tower and found themselves back in the center of Nantong City. The city was brightly lit and looked peaceful as if the demon invasion had never happened. Suddenly, someone noticed a body ahead. It was a member of the demon worshippers, clad in a black robe and mask, lying dead. Above them, there were many human professional powerhouses, as well as many other members of the demon worshippers who were now being detained. White Divine's voice then resonated through the city. He introduced himself, and as his voice carried across the crowd, everyone looked towards him with respect, while cheering loudly. With White Divine here, no one could stir trouble. He explained that the attack by the demon worshippers had been anticipated and prepared for. He then expressed his satisfaction at seeing the young professionals not backing down from the fight. Clenching his fist, he announced that they had successfully subdued the attackers, and ingeniously turned the ordeal into a practical part of the solo competition. White Divine then proceeded to announce the champions of the solo competition for different level brackets. Lin, no doubt, was declared the champion for the 20 to 29 level bracket. Soon after, prizes materialized before each champion. Continuing, White Divine revealed that the next day would feature a challenging event, open to anyone confident in their abilities. He then added that the rewards for this challenge will be exceptionally generous. Well, looks like things just got a bit more interesting, and more loot for our boy Lin.
After Hanju's explanation, Chan Yu finally dispelled her doubt.